Yeah.
So you guys? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna get there.
Sorry.
I just thought I'd bore everybody first, and then it's like, oh, he was wonderful towards the end.
It's okay, I have a microphone, so you can do it once.
Okay.
All right. Let's just start with Ren and Stimpy.
Yes. That was, let's see, 1991 or...
My favorite person.
Was it?
Yes.
Very psychotic.
Yes, I know well.
It was this big brain-dead cat, and I used, for inspiration, I loved the Three Stooges. When I was a little kid, I stopped going to church when I discovered the Three Stooges. They were my saints, you know. I swear. And Larry Fine was one of the Stooges, and he just had this plain kind of voice, but I just loved it because it was so sublime, it was so nothing, you know. Like the other two, everyone could do Mo and Curly, you know. Come here, you. And then it's... And Larry was like, hey Mo, there's too much tinsel on the tree. And I would go, what is that sound? I was fascinated by it. So that became the basis for doing Stimps and J Cat, you know. It's like I had to pitch him up a little more. And he would be like, happy, joy, joy. My favorite live-action drama. Hey, Ren, will you button me? And Ren was a quintessential a-hole, you know, like he was part this, part that, part Ralph Cramden, part Burl Ives, part this and that, and he was south of the border, a Chihuahua, so he had kind of a south of the border accent every now and then. And then he would sound like Peter Lorre from the horror movies. And, you know, I listened to these clips from those movies where Peter Lorre would go, I'd like a couple of hamburgers, please, and make them raw. Yeah, it was creepy. And then he would scream and yell, you like the same things I do! You know, and so that became Ren. And the guy that created the show, John Cristofusi, took me to Nickelodeon when he was trying to sell the show, and he didn't have a demo tape. Recorded before he went into the meeting. It was a room, and we were trying to get a tape recorder mic, and I was like reading all cramped in there and everything, and he went in and he came out and he said, congratulations, what you just did sold the show. Because I was supposed to do both voices, but he decided he was going to do the Ren voice, and I didn't care. I had a job, you know, I was just happy to be doing it, but then he got himself axed and fired and so on and so forth, and so they said, hey, wasn't Billy supposed to do both these voices? So I wound up doing both, you know. Hey, Ren, I picked a magic nose goblin. Want to see? You idiot! I shall kill you! Oh! Yeah! Yeah, he was manic. Yeah. And I just recorded a whole season of that show for Comedy Central, and they're going to announce it. I don't know when, but I finished the whole thing, and I was screaming and yelling like I did 31 years ago. But I was a young guy when I did that show, so I told them, you better keep a paramedic in the lobby this time.
Is it weird to go back to that so far?
Yes, because I'm literally risking my life. I'm 72 years old. I don't belong doing that shit. But seriously, if I die, I guess it would be cool to die in a recording studio.
If you're going to go anywhere, you might as well.
But Ren!
That would make a great final episode, though, you gotta be honest. I mean, like...
Oh, it would.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, and somebody would, of course, you know, make it viral. This is what happened. He was saying that he was getting hot and the lights were flickering, and then he was gone.
We couldn't say...
I don't want to go anywhere. I like it too much. I want to stay here. I want to have some fun before I go.
So you went from Ren and Stimpy to Doug. Did Doug come next?
Yes, Doug was a Nick
So
too.
you went from those crazy guys
Yes.
to kind of the mellow, like...
Well, he was, I don't know, he was kind of like the way I was when I was 11 and a half. I did a lot of daydreaming. Always daydreaming. I was not like a bully or a tough guy. I was raised by a woman, so I get it, you know. I mean, I was sensitive and I was artistic. I was no good at sports because I was on the autism spectrum and I couldn't hold a baseball. I would just, I couldn't buckle a seatbelt. I couldn't tie my own shoes or a necktie. It was awful, and I had to fake everything because to save face, One kid busted me, he said, "You tie cuckoo." But it was the best I could do. It was like I had to invent something that looked like a knot, a shoelace knot. And, that's how I had to do everything, ass backwards. I couldn't get my mind around anything. So, and my dad just thought I was stupid, but he was a psycho and a drunk. And my mom took 3 boys, me and my 2 brothers, and just left out of Detroit and went to Boston. Very courageous for a 32-year-old woman to just do that. Because in those days, the church, controlled everybody's lives, and you were not allowed to do stuff like that. Their advice was go home and work it out. But she showed up with a black eye to the rectory to ask a priest for help. And thank God there was one decent priest that said, "If I were you, I'd get out of there." He wasn't allowed to do that. He wasn't supposed to do that. He gave her the money so we could fly to Boston and escape. Yeah, but we would have been dead, So, but anyway, I remember right around that time, I was about 10 or 11, and I'd go to a laundromat because I had to do my brother's dirty diapers. My mom said, we have no other way of, you gotta take them. And I said, oh man, and I'd walk in and there'd be all these teenagers sitting on top of the machines, And I would walk in with the bag of dirty diapers, and somebody would go, "Hey, look who it is, the diaper boy." And I wanted to die, and I wanted to be with these people because I wanted to fit in. But now I look back and I go, why did I want to fit in with a bunch of jerks, and weirdos like that were mean-spirited? That was certainly not me, but I felt the pressure, like, God, but I didn't want to just become dumber so I could fit in. I didn't want to be violent so I could just make friends with the other violent imbeciles. But boy, it was tough, and there was one girl sitting on top of the machine. It was right out of West Side Story. I said, can I use that machine? And she's just sitting there, shaking her head, no. I said, this is what I want to be with. That's my dream girl. That's what I want to be with. What's wrong with me? But anyway, I was like Doug, I did a lot of fantasizing, and they're older now. They're like, this chair is gonna maybe.
You wouldn't care how much.
Yeah.
Let's take a picture.
I know, I'm getting distracted. That's, it's autism. It's spectrum stuff. I can't, no, I gotta make it work or this is no good and I'm gonna leave.
I kept wanting to tell you to switch, but I wasn't sure if you
Oh, I know.
I wasn't
How
sure if you
obvious
were playing
was
or
it?
not. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, really.
There, how about that one, please? I don't know why I don't know who pulled that chair up in the first place. It's like the same level now.
Yeah, I like that.
Anyway, Doug, they're older now. They're like 30 years older almost. It's like,
Dear Journal, today I blew up a courthouse.
you never know how they're gonna turn out. You see them going to court. Judge Roger Klotz.
Order in court! Order! Oh, look who it is. It's Bunny, you loser. I knew I was gonna see you in here one day. Order! Order! You're going to jail, Funny. Yeah, Funny. You're gonna be somebody's bitch in jail, Funny. You're gonna be sitting on Donald Trump's lap if I have anything to say about it, Funny. You're going to jail for 5 centuries. Same thing.
And Doug is like, oh no. Sometimes that's how it turns out, It's like you think the bad kid is gonna be like dead or in jail and he winds up to be a cop or a judge or something. But yeah, he was just a really good, sweet character, and the show was very sweet. I did the Nickelodeon Doug, I didn't do the Disney Doug, I couldn't do business with them. They wanted me to do more work for less money, and I just said, I wish you nothing but the best.
It's okay, it went downhill after that anyway, so it's
Did it? Oh, I don't know. I tried to watch it once, and I listened, and I said, ugh.
What's it like when you watch yourself as
Somebody doing me?
yeah,
It's creepy.
that doesn't sound right.
No, I mean, it's just like you have your idea of what you would have done, and you hear somebody going all over the place. I wanted to help him. You know, no. It's
Trauma manual.
I know, I can't revisit the past.
So the one that I'm sure most people are waiting for, and I can tell at least one person is waiting for, is Futurama.
Yes.
Yes. You did so many
Yeah,
things on there.
Phil J. Fry. Greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. Shut up and take my money. And then there was the professor. He was a 147-year-old professor, and I said, "Boy, he's really old. I make him sound really rickety and old." I said, "He's 147. He must burn dust like a mummy, you know." And I don't want to live on this planet anymore. You know, and it was like, I love these characters so much, and people say, "What do you think about creating these characters?" I didn't create anything. I just gave them voices. Matt created these characters. He just had so much going on inside that he. But I was lucky that they.
Did you jump right into the voice that we hear now on the show? Was that the first one you tried out with them, or did they
Originally, they already cast Fry and Lilo with two different
I
people.
didn't know that.
But then they changed it after the first recording. But I went into audition for the professor and Zoidberg, and I just saw his name and I said, well, it sounds like a Yiddish name, and I thought, and he has all this cool meat hanging off his face, so he would be kind of, I thought that he'd be kind of and there's two actors. One was a guy named Lou Jacoby, who was in the first Arthur movie with Dudley Moore. He's the guy that leaned in and went, "What's it like to have all that money?" It doesn't suck. And then that voice, and there was a guy in vaudeville, which was around before television was. You could go in a theater and see 12 acts. You could stay all day and watch dancers and jugglers and singers and comedians in the old days. And there'd be a host, and one of the hosts was a guy named George Jessel, and he had a marble mouth. I always noticed that, and he would say, "Good evening, ladies and germs." And for some reason, people thought that was funny in those days. I don't know why, but he would say, "You know the definition of a smart ass? A fellow that can sit on an ice cream cone and tell you what flavor it is." And I thought that voice, super collided or cold fused, whatever you want to call it, with Lou Jacoby would have been the right voice for Zoidberg, And your music is bad, and you should feel bad. That I can do.
So when Futurama
Yes.
give me a second.
We've only killed 3 minutes.
I know, right? I'm lost. Had this so well planned out, and the voices came out, and I'm straight up fanboying up here, by the way. It's fine. But so Futurama's come back now. You filmed the new. What's there, 8 episodes?
Yeah, we recorded for Hulu. We did 10, and then we recorded another 10, and they're being put together now.
There we go.
And then I just heard that it was renewed for 2 more seasons.
Better.
So, but I think, thank you. Well, there's a whole lot more coming, so yeah. And it was a joy, and it was the best thing I think I ever was involved with. I loved it so much, still do. I'm distracted again by that outfit. Kev, inform the men. I made it with a woman. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is spongy, bruised dick. I worked in radio years ago, and there were still guys from the old days around when we came around. We used to call them big dumb announcers, because they were big guys that loved the sound of their own voice more than anything else in the world. And they used to hem and haw and ruminate, and it was like the hamburger helper of words. Well, it's 5 hours into this show, and I thought I'd say, I'm really enjoying it. They haven't nothing to say and taken 5 minutes to say it. And we kind of had a love-hate thing about those guys. I just said, who talks like this? Nobody. But I could do it. But I just thought it was funny, and like I said, we called them big dumb announcers, and it was like ancient history, 50 years ago, a species roamed the earth. They loved the sound of their own voice. Beyond anything else in the world, they carried their balls in a wheelbarrow. Everything they said was so important, even if it was goofy. And they were called big dumb announcers. And then there was a cataclysm, and they were all wiped out. And then a new species emerged. They were smaller, they were more facile, they were like raptors, and they were called little dumb announcer. Me and my friends, we called ourselves little dumb announcers compared to those guys. Anyway, that's where the Zapp and stuff comes from. It's based on a lot of these guys. He's like sort of an amalgam of old-time guys that I used to listen to, these jivey announcers and it's perfect for Zapp because he's so deliciously stupid. And a lot of these guys that were, playing records and just saying shit in between the records, it was like, the guy isn't very smart, I mean, I'd read a lot of books and all that. I had no schooling. I hated school. I used to get physically ill, even thinking about going to school. But I did read stuff, and I had a select little group of shows that I watched. Because when I grew up, there was 3 channels. Everything was black and white, and it all went off the air at 11 p.m. at night. That was it. And you never knew when something was going to be replayed. You just didn't know. If you saw, I'd be watching. We developed this longing, people of my age group, who were like depending on the TV or the radio to hear or see something cool to inspire you, something to love. And you'd be watching something on TV, you just happen to tune it in, and it's the greatest thing you ever heard and saw in your life, and you know it's going to be over in 5 seconds. So you would suck every bit of it in to try and hang on to it, because you couldn't record it, you couldn't film it. It was gone, and you never knew if you were ever going to see the coolest thing you ever saw ever again. So, that's where we got this. This longing kind of makes you want to be a superlative. It makes you want to say, "Hey, did you see this show?" I'd be in junior high school, and I'd ask somebody next to me. I'd say, "Hey, did you see the spy show that was on last night?" He goes, "No. Let me show you how it went." And I would do all the parts, and I would just like go crazy with it. But that's how anybody like begins a career, either acting or performing. You're mimicking and imitating things you saw and heard that tripped your trigger, made you go crazy. And it's still like that. I'm never jaded. I never got tired of doing what I do. It still thrills me to see somebody just being great. I'm a big fan of all my fellow performers. Hold them in really high esteem. All of them, all the people I've worked with on Futurama and people I've worked with in different cartoons. They still inspire me. It's like going to school, you walk into a room full of these genius level performers, and I feel very fortunate,
So,
Yes.
I don't know how to really top that. That was pretty close to the end. I have that.
You're that busy? You have to leave?
You are a busy guy. You were busy.
Wait a minute.
We have time for a question out there, and then I have one question that my people usually ask. But
Okay.
Does anyone have one more question out there? That is, people come in late, so we'll see how fast they can go. But we'll start here on. Maybe we'll get 2 questions. We'll skip that one.
Okay, so after years of crushing it, what are you looking forward to now?
What am I looking forward to?
Yeah, what sort of makes you take, even like outside of the business side, what do you do to decompress, to sort of like take your mind off of things and just sort of relax?
I hadn't had a vacation in about 13 years. And all I know how to do is work. And I've been lucky, I'm not complaining. I've been working for 40-something years without a break. I mean, yeah, I've had breaks, of course, but I never really took vacations, and I took one a while back, and I got on a plane, and I went to this remote island, and it had that postcard blue water that you dream about, when you're looking at stuff on the computer, and you go, oh, that's where I belong, that's where I want to be. I wouldn't have any troubles if I just lounged around in that water and the white sand, and I daydream a lot. But I finally said, I'm going to one of those stupid places. So I went, And I had a whole Caribbean beach to myself because it was an isolated island. There were a couple of villas here and there, but I went down the ocean and it was that water, that beautiful water, and I looked this way and I looked that way and I ripped off all my clothes and I was naked and jumped in. And it was warm and the water was up to my neck, and for the first time in like 30-something years, I felt like my soul was full, complete. It was the experience I really needed, because I was giggling. Was busted? All right, I'm good. Hey, hello. How dare you? Oh, okay. Is there like a Walmart near here? You can just buy some batteries.
Oh wait, not the tech guy, okay?
No, it's blinking. It's blinking at me. I'm judged. No, but I was giggling, like a child. I felt playful, and it was just like your spirit needs experiences like that. That's what I look forward to. That and marrying a young nurse who'll read love poems to me, and I'll lie on her lap under a tree. That sounds good to me. I don't need big excitement.
All right, we got one more right here.
Out of the 3 networks you worked for,
Yes.
who was your favorite? Who do you think treated you the most fairly? And
Oh boy.
Question.
That's tough. I never had what I would call an intimate relationship with a network, because you're dealing with like hundreds of people. But I mean, as far as the shows go, I mean, I always loved doing Nickelodeon stuff when I did it. And I guested on a few shows over the years that Nickelodeon did. Comedy Central. I was an announcer. I'm just trying to remember. There's hundreds of things there. Fox, they were an interesting ride, because in the beginning they used to preempt Futurama for football all the time, and they were at war with Matt Grisham. He wanted autonomy, and they were like, no. And so they used to screw with the show. And one time it said, an all-new Fox Sunday night, starting at 7, Futurama. After that, an all-new Malcolm in the Middle at 7:30. And at 8, an all-new Simpsons, followed by another all-new episode of Malcolm in the Middle. And then it said, remember, the fun begins at 7:30. I swear, that's what the announcer, when we talked about it, said, what are they doing this to you for? You delivered Christmas for these people. Oh, Christ. Yeah, love is in the air. What can I tell you?
So first off, anyone who has purchased Pro Photo Ops ability, those will be at noon downstairs in the photo area. There are still a few slots. If you didn't pre-purchase them online, you can buy them at the actual booth downstairs. To close this out, my question comes to them. I'm not going to ask you to pull it up or call them, just be aware. But we're going to play drop the name game here. Who's the biggest person that you consider in your cell phone that that you just know?
The biggest person?
Yeah, who's your
Oh, there's a dancer named Misty Mellons. and
And that's how we end. Guys, can you play a huge round of applause?